Wow, welcome everyone to our San Diego Black American Political Association of California, BAPAC General Membership Meeting. We welcome you on Zoom. We also welcome you on Facebook Live, and we also welcoming you or those that are watching us on YouTube. We're glad you're hanging out with us. This is going to be hopefully a very short meeting because we all have a lot to do around the holidays. Some of us want to get out and just do a little bit of celebration, a little bit of shopping, and just loving on each other. So, but we have some great presenters today that are going to be sharing with us some very, very timely, important issues. I want to just thank everyone for taking the time to be with us today. We're going to move right into our program. We're not going to kind of tanner around. I'm going to, of course, open us up. I'll open this up with prayer. So if you could just bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you this morning for the opportunity to convene this wonderful meeting with all of these wonderful and great leaders who have a passion for the betterment of all communities in this great city of San Diego. And we ask God that you would bless our time together this morning this afternoon on Zoom and Facebook Live and also on YouTube, that we will go away with a better understanding of some actions that we need to take so that we can continue the work of improving our communities here in San Diego. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I want to talk a little bit just to bring us up to date on being mindful of COVID. I text Dr. Susan Afalo a couple of days ago, and I really would like to read what she's saying in terms of the status of the Black community as it relates to COVID. I think it's important for us just to take this time to really take the seriousness of COVID. We're tired of COVID, but COVID has not finished with us. So I want to read the data here. African Americans are still only 47.7% vaccinated. That means over half of the population of Black folks in San Diego are unvaccinated and with at least one dose. In every age group, we are the lowest vaccinated. 5 to 7, 11-year-olds, we're only 9.5%. 12 to 17-year-olds, we're 51%. 18 to 64-year-olds, we're only 48%, and 65 and older, 74%. This is very disturbing. She talks about her interaction with people, with folks, and some of them are just to the point where they're tired of listening. Some even have said, I don't like people telling me what to do. It's all about the mandate that they don't like. And it's very frustrating. And those were Dr. Afalo's words. So we have a lot to do in our community in order to ensure that people are vaccinated. When you have half, 50% are unvaccinated. That's very, very disturbing. If any of you have any ideas of how we can change people's hearts and minds, please put it in the chat. But we really need to take this matter seriously. We can't blame the system, because the last time I checked, even from the county of San Diego, they have poured millions of dollars into communities of color, ensuring that folks are vaccinated. We have churches that are opening their sites for testing and vaccinations. We have Dr. Afalo, she will go to your house and give you a vaccination. She had the Black Nurses Association. They will set up pop-up events. They will again go to your churches. They will do whatever it takes in order to get us vaccinated. But yet we're still 50%. I remember Nora Vargas in District 1. I mean, she was so excited to announce that 90% of the residents in her district are vaccinated. And but you know, in the Black community, we're only half. So we gotta put our minds together and come up with some ways to convince our people that they needed to get vaccinated. During the holiday season, families are coming together. They're predicting an uptick in cases. The vaccinations don't guarantee that you won't catch COVID. I know folks right now who are fully vaccinated and boosted, and they have tested positive for COVID. But at least it keeps you out of the hospital, hopefully. So let's get ourselves protected, get our families protected, get our neighbors and our communities protected. That's something I wanted to share with everyone. We also want to lift up the NAACP and Francine Maxwell in our prayers and in our thoughts. The year of 2020, 2021, during this pandemic, BAPAC has remained online. We've had no in-person events. That means all of our fundraising events have been temporarily suspended, again, because of the whole vaccination piece. But we have learned the importance of collaboration and partnership. And even in spite of that, we've been able to secure funding from entities that we have helped, from the census to COVID to data gathering. We have secured funding for outreach in those areas that have kept BAPAC alive and well. And we want to do, of course, more of that. We're looking forward to 2022. As you notice in the flyer, the theme for 2022 is Build Black Better. I like Biden, but I said, wait, why don't we put the L in it? So Build Black Better. And that's what we intend to do in all areas. I'll be talking about that during the course of January. Going forward, we've secured the services of a consultant that's helping us update, upgrade, and uplift our infrastructure. We're looking at putting some committees together, a youth committee together, particularly public safety committee, a communications committee, a fundraising committee, and a events committee for in 2022. To further ado, I really want to introduce our two presenters, our two keynote speakers. And I want to start with, first of all, I wanted to acknowledge some of our BAPAC board members here. Elise Pipkin-Allen is vice chair of our BAPAC, and Abina is here. Abina Briscoe is here. She's one of our board members. She comes with a strong banking mortgage background. Just opened her own mortgage real estate company. We're so excited about that. Currently finishing up her PhD. So she's doing some great things. We have also we have Carl Evans, who's been a longtime BAPAC member here as well. And there's several others that will be joining us. Jordan Marks, since you're here, and I think you may be the only one, let me give you a minute to share your story with us.
Oh, hi, Ms. Nash. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm honored to be here as a candidate. Well, I'm honored to be here as a lifetime BAPAC member. I think Dr. Willie Blair was a mentor of mine, rest his soul. And so just since I started in San Diego, I showed up at BAPAC day one. And I've been honored to be here as a resource, making sure that whatever office I've been with, the community is connected and getting the resources it needs. So I'm a District 9 resident. I've been working on, I'm right on the border between D4 and D9 on University Avenue. And it is a neglected area and we could be doing better. And so in my current role at the assessor's office, making sure that home ownership and Black home ownership is a priority. And so I'm working with the National Association of Real Estate Brokers to help that vision of 30 million Black homeowners by 2030. And so that also includes making sure we're taking care of the churches, the nonprofits, and the communities that serve all of us. And so I'm running for county assessor, recorder clerk in 2022. And I'm honored to be here as a BAPAC member, but also have the honor to earn your support as a community member.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you. There are some others on the call. I know, just if you could just give us 1 minute, a 1 minute introduction. Christy, Dr. Christy Sicano, can you just give us 1 minute who you are?
Sure. Hi, my name's Christy Chiscano, and I am a teacher now at Gompers. I have been there for 11 years, teaching science, but I have a new role this year as program specialist, so helping with some of the programs at the school. I'm a huge advocate for equality in education, and I'm just very excited to potentially be helping with some of the youth items and BAPAC and getting some of our students at Gompers more involved in some advocacy that has some good role models and adults that they can work with.
Thank you. Carl Evans?
Hello, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank everyone for being here today. I'm just a avid volunteer, and I want to support wherever I'm needed. As I stated in my comment, thank you, Ellen, for your vision. I truly believe in the words, without a vision, we perish. So thank you for that. And thank you for your phenomenal leadership. And I thank everyone for being here today. And however you can utilize me, please don't hold back. I'm here for you.
Thank you. I see Darren's iPad. Darren?
Good afternoon, Madam President. My name is Darren Noyes. I live in District 4. I'm just a community volunteer. So I'm here if you need me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Jay Portis has joined us. Jay?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Portis, And I currently serve on the BAPAC board as administrative assistant. And I'm here for support of BAPAC. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jay. Oh, Miriam? Hi,
Hello,
Miriam.
everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation to introduce myself. I have a member on BAPAC for many, many years, at least a decade, and I really love my people like that. And I also the State Deputy Director for the League of United Latin American Citizens and a member of the Foundation for the League of United Latin American Citizens. So I am looking forward to work a lot more close together with Ellen Nash and BAPAC. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Miriam, longtime supporter. The others that are here, they're going to introduce themselves when we get to this next critical topic. And I'm going to introduce to some and maybe to others our own greatness. We're in the presence of greatness today on this Zoom call in the person of our own Dr. Ken Seaton Msemaji. He is the founder of the United Domestic Workers of America. He has a long resume that I really would like him to share because I really believe, Ken, people need to know who you are. And I just thank God for leaving you here with us at such a time as this, because you're more needed now than you ever realized you are, because of all of your wisdom and your greatness. And the movement and the civil rights movement, you're one of those great leaders that's with us. He recently lost his precious wife, who was also a giant in this community, and I know she's smiling down on us today for acknowledging her wonderful husband and all the work that he's done in this community and in this country, actually. So I introduce to you Ken Seaton Msemaji. Ken, you and your team here with attorney Adi DeCastro and is it Ditas? I'm sorry, Ditas. And if there's anyone else here want to join into the conversation, we want to spend with you for the next 15-20 minutes and then take questions. Ken?
Well, first let me thank you, Ellen. Ellen is one of those people, as many of you know, who never stops. She's been involved in this for years and years and years. And I think there wouldn't be a San Diego BAPAC today without her. Of course, our beloved brother, Willie Blair, founded it and handed off the baton to Ellen, and you've carried it well. I want to talk a little bit about National City's district election effort. You know, everything in life is somehow voted on by some elected official somewhere. Water quality, air quality, transportation, education, utilities, whatever it is, there's a politician somewhere voting on it. And what we as people of color need to be very careful about is that we need to represent ourselves, meaning that it's not okay for even a small city like National City to have 5 elected officials who are all at large, which means nobody can hold any of them accountable for anything. We need districts because my neighborhood is different than a neighborhood 5 miles away from me, even though we're in the same city. There's several different areas, several different neighborhoods, and we need people who get up in the morning knowing and understanding those areas, and then being able to contribute their knowledge and vision to the whole city council and make the best decision for the district and for the city as a whole. Now, fortunately, our federal politicians and our state politicians have passed laws, voting rights laws, that has given us not only the opportunity, but now it is illegal for any jurisdiction to not have district elections, no matter how small or how big. For some reason, some of our politicians here in National City are more concerned about their own seats and their own personal interests as opposed to looking at the city as a whole. Just a few years ago, a couple of years ago, 4 of the 5 of them all lived in the same area. 3 of them in the same actual neighborhood, and 1 a few miles down the road from that person. The only other one who lived on the west side of National City was the current mayor. So how can you say we got all of National City represented if they all live in one area and claim to know what's going on in all of the areas? So district elections has to happen. This is also important because of people of color. We have to face the fact that no matter who we are and what color we are, as far as people of color and poor people of all colors, the system is not designed to help us unless we force it to help us. And so if National City or any jurisdiction doesn't have somebody of all persuasions, then whoever is not at the table weakens everybody else. We are at our strength when we all are at the table. We are at a disadvantage when we are not all at the table. So it matters what happens to Filipinos. It matters what happens to Blacks. It matters what happens to Latinos, what happens to Native Americans, and even poor whites. It matters. And if we don't get everybody at the table, we're never going to get full justice. So that's why I'm involved in that. I thought I was retiring, and every time I look around, I'm getting dragged into something else. We have to do district elections there, and use that as an opportunity to get back to what we used to do, and that is all of our communities of color understanding each other's issues, and when they can, supporting each other. Now, there's a difference between voting rights issues and other issues. Voting rights is a matter of a right that people died for, went to jail for, got beaten up for, sacrificed for years for. That's a right. We can't give up rights. So our friends on the city council, Ellen knows them, I know them, love most of them, but voting rights is a right and we can't give that up. That can't be negotiated. It has to be seen as a right, and that's how we have to approach it. Now, other issues that could be important, we need to be careful as we start working together again, that if we disagree on one issue, that doesn't make us the enemy. People are going to disagree. I was with my wife, Fahadi Jeffers, for 49 years when she died, and we did not agree on everything. Nobody agrees on everything. But when it comes to rights, we have to stand up, and there's no negotiating away our civil rights and our voting rights.
Thank you, Ken. Ditas, Adi, you all want to compliment or share some comments around this issue? And if you could clarify where you are, where National City is now versus, and compare National City with the city of San Diego, I think that would help our viewers, our listening viewers. Thank you.
Artie, where are you?
I'm right here. Well, thank you, Madam Chair and BAPAC board for having me. It's a real honor to be here before you. Just so you have some context, very briefly, my family immigrated to National City, and I was raised in District 4, went to Morse High School, and I'm now a lawyer here in downtown San Diego. Ditas and I are very good friends. We've been both involved in politics. She's very involved. I can't really add that much because Ken, you did a great job in really articulating the issues. I will say that when I first undertook this project, I did it from a perspective as a Filipino community representative. I happen to represent the Philippine government here in San Diego County as the honorary consul. And I was doing it for my community, but it's really opened my eyes. And Ken, you helped me open my eyes when you and I met personally, that this is a greater issue about voting rights, not any particular race. But I just want everybody to know what perspective I entered into this. The Filipinos and API population in National City is 20%. That's almost double what it is in the city of San Diego and the county of San Diego. But yet San Diego has district voting, and San Diego has district voting that has benefited people of color. We have District 4, we have District 9, District 8, and District 6 for API. National City, on the other hand, does not have district voting. And as Ken mentioned, we've had politicians that have maintained the status quo. Currently, 3 out of the 5 members have served a cumulative 53 years on city council, and they're running for re-election. Now, from the community perspective, my community, we don't feel that we've had adequate representation. It's not about getting even a member of our community elected. It's about having accountability and somebody that will just listen to us. And one example is that we had asked to have a district called the Filipino Village in National City because of the amount of Filipino-owned businesses there. And they promised us that project, yet it never happened. And I'm pretty confident that if we had a voice in the political process, that would have happened. Now, in order for us to, my firm is willing to sue National City. I made that very clear. I just want to be very upfront. I've spoken to Charles Bell about it, and we're going to be prepared to sue them if they don't comply with our demands. I'll personally finance the lawsuit, and I think it's going to be very expensive for them if they don't comply. And I think that they may as well comply because I believe they're ultimately going to lose. And if they do lose, they will have to pay all these legal bills. But that being said, I'm not doing this. I want everybody to know I'm doing this for the right reason. I have nothing to gain politically out of this. Just like Ellen and Ken, I'm friends with everybody on city council. At least I was until I gave this notice. But I'm willing to put that aside and do what I believe is right, and that is to fight for the committee. And if they don't agree, I'm sorry, that's just the way it's gonna have to be. So I really appreciate BAPAC even considering supporting this. It really inspires me to know that we're working together as people of color to try to further an interest. So I wanna thank you for even considering it. I don't wanna be presumptuous. I hope you will ultimately work with us. And if you do, I will be not only grateful, but I'll be very honored. I knew Dr. Blair many years back. He actually brought me in as a member. I don't know if you remember, Ellen, I met you a while back, but he did bring me in as a member, and then I had kids, and then those sort of distracted me for a while. But he was very inspirational, and so I'm sorry for your organizational loss in that regard as well. Anyway, thank you, and I'll entertain any questions anybody might have.
Can we have Ditas? Can you speak, Ditas? Ditas and Ken are residents of National City, so I really want to give them this platform.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ellen. Hello, everyone. My name is Ditas Yamani. I am a very active and involved member of the community of the City of National City. I'm also very active in the city as incoming chair of the Planning Commission and Housing Advisory. I was a past president of the National City Chamber of Commerce, current president of the Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors. It's a huge organization, and we advocate for home ownership. We are not asking for anything that is not unusual. We just wanted the policymakers to follow the law. And of course, make sure that representation and accountability is there. Right now, as a resident of the city, as a very involved one, constituents who seek for issues and concerns, help for issues and concerns are, they're pointing at each other. There's no accountability. Unlike a district districting or a district community where you go to your council member or to that district representative, and that representative will have to fight for his or her constituents with regards to any issues and concerns within that district. We see that now in our neighboring cities, city of Chula Vista, city of San Diego, and it's, as a president of a huge organization, when there is an issue of our members in one district, we know who to go to and request or advocate for that issue or for that concern. Here in National City, just like what Mr. Ken Samaji said, most of them live in one community where they don't know what's happening in the West. And when a West constituent will come to them, they're all pointing at each other because of at large. There's no accountability. And that's all that we're asking is give us, make a person accountable to their constituents and that they follow the law. That's it. Thank you, Ms. Ellen.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments from those on the Zoom call?
Ms. Nash, this is Jordan Marks.
Yes.
Is this sort of a similar issue to what we saw at the San Diego Unified School Board District before, where they didn't have district representation? It was elected citywide or district wide?
Yes, it's the same thing.
Okay.
And the same thing, and after the law was passed at the state level, Escondido, there's 18 cities in San Diego County, and I think all but 3 or 4 of them have done district elections. Now, some of those cities ended up spending a bunch of their city taxpayer money having fighting something they could never win in the first place. But everybody else has district elections, and we need it in National City. I think there may be a couple of the current members on the city council who might be leaning in our direction, but we need to pressure all of them at this point.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. I have my hand up.
Mhm.
Hi.
All right.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
And my question to the people of National City, have you identified the path for creating the districts? And what does that look like and what does it take?
Artie?
Hello, Ms. Briscoe. I'm not a resident of National City, but I'm the one that's sort of handling the legal aspect of it.
Okay.
And the path would be, one has to send an official notice of violation to the city of National City, which was already done on November 8th. They have 45 days from that time period to adopt a resolution specifying their intention to transition to a district voting. If they don't meet that deadline, then we are entitled to sue them. And now if they do meet the deadline, which I don't think they will, because December 23rd is the 45-day period expires next week. Then there's a period of time during which they have to have public hearings to hear public input on where the boundaries would be drawn, but they haven't even reached that second level. So at this point, it appears to me that they're not going to comply. I believe, and I don't have any basis from this other than just common sense and practical experience, that they want to delay the effective date of any district election. And the way to delay that is for them to force me to file the lawsuit, which I'm willing to do. Because had they complied with the 45-day deadline, then we'd be on track to be able to meet the 2022 elections. So my sense is that the council members probably do not want to make it effective in 2022. I've had my conversations with the city attorney. I sort of got a general idea of where they stood on this. So does that answer your question, ma'am?
It sort of answers the question, and so I understand the delay tactic. So in preparation for when that tactic is no longer going to be effective, have the citizens of National City come up with proposed boundaries, how they want that to look? I mean, has that much thought gone into this process yet, or are you just still at the process? And what is your time frame for accomplishing this?
Well, our time frame was to try to make it effective 2022. Now it's going to be dependent on how quickly the lawsuit's going to move. I will just have to see. I really can't answer that question. We would like it to be effective 2022, and in order for it to be effective in 2022, district boundaries have to be adopted by June of 2022. So that's going to be a hurdle. Now, to try to be more specific, what will happen is that, let's assume that the city council, either by resolution or by settlement, or if they lose the case, is forced to adopt district boundaries, then under the elections code, they're required to have public input. And from what I recall from the elections code, they're supposed to have at least 2 meetings within the first 30 days, and then another meeting for public input. So it's a pretty quick time frame. But what the city's probably going to do is they're going to probably need an expert like a demographer to make recommendations on boundary lines. The public is definitely, it would be in our interest collectively, our communities, to provide input to make sure that there's some checks and balances, because of course council members are somewhat conflicted out of this. If you think about where they live, they may want boundaries to be drawn separate way in certain places. So we would want to have input in there. And in fact, we probably would want to have an independent commission appointed to draw the boundaries, so that way it's separated from city council. So it is kind of an involved process, ma'am, but to give you the exact time frame really depends on how quickly they move in response to our A, demands, and B, our lawsuit.
One of the things that, some of us have been concerned about, knowing that we have a little bit of time compared to all the redistricting that's going on now, everybody that has districts, the county, the city, the big cities, the smaller cities, they all are doing their reapportionments, and we don't need to take away from their expertise, but they'll be done with theirs very soon, and we can get some of them to help us design what the community wants out in National City, not just what a commission or the council itself might want.
And lastly, what is National City's current form of government?
Everybody on the city council gets to vote on everything. There's no district. So I live in what you would call the eastern area of National City. If I got an issue, all of them can pass the baton to each other and blame everything on each other. There's no way to hold 5 people accountable. If somebody on the west side, the same thing. So what we have to do is to force them so that we can have fair voting rights. I can't represent what's going on in the West National City as good as somebody who lives there. So that's what this is about. Fair representation. The law is already on the books. They're in the position of violating the law if they don't come around to this somehow. And Artie has stepped up to him and his firm to initiate the lawsuits. There'll probably be others joining in. But I think while we're doing all that, we also need to get 2 levels of the preparation at least beginning to be talked about. And that is, how do we put the mechanism together to get the demographic material and what have you to figure out what we think are fair districts? And secondly, if we have to go grassroots on them, we need to be prepared for that too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ditas and Audie, for being here. I have one last question because Abina did a great job asking great questions. I'm a lifetime resident of San Diego. I hung out as a kid in National City for many, many, many years. So I've seen National City go from what I call a little small town to actually a surprisingly a big city. This whole issue, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought you had district elections. I thought Marcus Bush was elected by his district. You hear what I'm saying? So for me, I'm shocked that you don't have district elections, first of all, because you are a big, medium-sized city. I mean, you have the mall. When I think about it, I go to the mall over there and go to the movies and where is it? Over there off of 805, right? Plaza Bonita for years, as you know. So for me, this to me is a no-brainer. So I'm going to be I want to put that on the record. To me, this is a no-brainer. Should have been done a long time ago, long time coming. So with that said, what is the shortest pathway to getting this done. It's my understanding, couldn't you take this to the current city council? And the city council can make the decision to go with, that's my point. The city council, the current national city council, can make a decision to move forward with district elections, right?
That's right.
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Ken.
Oh, no, I was going to defer to, yes, they can solve this.
That's simple.
They could have solved this question last month, last year, or next month. But they're gonna have to step forward and take a stand. And again, the unfortunate thing about this, at least with some of them, their calculations has nothing to do with voting rights. Their calculations has to do with who can get reelected and who I need to get reelected, even though I might be safe, so I can have another vote. Those are reasonable concerns, but this isn't about individual concern. This is about everybody who lives here, everybody who comes in here during the day to shop and what have you. This is about real life representation, and you can't do it voting on my neighborhood if you're way over on the other side of town somewhere.
Agree.
Alan, the city council should have adopted a resolution outlining its plan they should have done it by now, because the 23rd is their deadline. So to answer your question in summation, they have the absolute power to adopt district voting, absolute power. But they haven't responded to me. Only Charles Bell has responded to me officially. Now, I got off the record call from Ron Morrison, and Jose Rodriguez has always supported since day one, even before he got elected. So I think he probably is going to support this. But they have the absolute power to do this. And I think what they're probably vying to do is get me to file the lawsuit and see if I'm willing to spend the money and time on this, which I am. Or I think what was sort of hinted to me was they might want to try to put it on the ballot to sort of escape political, I guess political heat. But in order for us to get them, we need to pressure them politically. And that's how we got Juan Vargas, who covers national cities, support this. We got the building and trade unions to cover this. And so the more people we get to support this, they're going to be more politically pressured. Because keep in mind, we have elections in 2022. It's the mayor's race in National City. And I think if we can calculate politically that we may have possibly two votes, excuse me. If the two mayors have to make a decision what their campaign's going to be run on, we have to apply as much pressure as possible. There's a January 4th, their first meeting. I think if we do something over there, where we write letters, make public statements, and perhaps we're thinking about doing we spoke off the record about doing a press conference on that day, maybe our collective communities. That would probably apply more pressure. The news is applying pressure. It's the UTS covered this, the KPBS, Star News has covered this. So we just gotta put the heat on them.
Now, when is that first city council meeting that a bunch of us are going to go down there? Is that also on the 4th?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think all of us have experienced, might not have thought about it that way, but not all, but a lot of elected officials, the thing they fear the most is a bunch of people showing up in their chamber, making their voices heard. They don't like that. They want you to get the hell away from them. And so the more that we can fill that chamber and not let them discuss nothing else, the better we're going to be in. If we just rely on press conferences or even lawsuits, that's not enough. We got to do the lawsuit, we got to do the press conference, and we got to show up and voice our opinions.
Okay, thank you. Can anyone provide their phone number in the chat? I see some folks are asking for more information, not well versed on the topic. I think Elise has asked how we can all get involved. I think one of the biggest takeaways today is we could all show up to that press conference and to the chamber, right? The city council meeting on the 4th.
Right.
Oh, they're on Zoom.
Huh? Those are the two immediate action items.
Yes.
No, he's pointing
Okay.
out that it's going to be on Zoom. I keep forgetting that, but still on Zoom, we can do the same thing. It doesn't feel as strong, but it's there.
Okay.
They need to understand that they're going to be driven crazy about this for the rest of the year and for the next year.
Okay. Okay. So those are two immediate action items, even if you don't live in National City. Like I have an affinity for National City because of the mall. Because of the church that's still there that I used to go to as a little girl. And National City, of course, there are a lot of my friends are still residents in National City. So it's near and dear to me. And again, I'm shocked that you just, because of the progression and growth of National City. I mean, my God, you have hotels there, you have the small, it doesn't, and you have beautiful redevelopment going on. I was really, really surprised when Ken and Audie brought this to my attention. So the first two things we could do is we'll send information. Ken, you will send information about the press conference, and you'll also send information about the city council meeting where we can all show up and support. We may not be able to speak because we're not residents, but we can certainly show up in person in the space and show our support.
Ellen,
One of the things that the way we got this far was that Artie and what's the name of Cynthia? They arranged that first meeting or two. And so the two of you stay in touch with all the specific information, where, when, and that sort of thing. And that way we get it out to everybody. What's her name? Ellen, Cynthia something?
CK, is that who we're talking about? Cynthia Swerow?
CK.
Yeah, he's a lifetime BAPAC member as well. And I want to say on record, Marcus Bush, who is a longtime BAPAC member, is on the city council. He was elected last year, if I remember correctly. He was elected last year to the National City Council. He is the second African-American. There's only two African-American men from San Diego who are in elected positions. That is Ed Spriggs in Imperial, correct me if I'm wrong, City of Imperial, right?
Beach.
Imperial Beach. And Marcus Bush.
That's right.
Who is also the city of National City. So we want to be mindful whenever we draw those lines. I want to make sure if we do it in 22, I want to make sure we take care of Marcus.
Right.
As well.
Gotcha.
Marcus Bush has been he has a great career ahead of him in politics, and we want to support him all the way.
Right.
Any other comments or questions, and then we'll go on to our next topic. Audie?
Yeah, Ellen, just two comments. Number one, we would be honored if BAPAC can join us in a joint press conference. You can let us know. I don't want to put the organization on the spot. That would be January 4th. We're going to ask Juan Vargas to join us and other leaders.
You said Juan Vargas endorsed, correct?
We're going to ask Juan Vargas to join us because he's already officially endorsed district voting in National City.
That's huge. That's huge.
Okay. Number two, I believe Marcus lives outside of the district that we're eyeing, so I think you're okay. I think he lives in Lincoln Park, which is not. But besides, we understand how things work, Ellen, and Monica Montgomery also too. I don't know if you mentioned she's a representative of San Diego, right? I mean, I don't know if you might have accidentally omitted her, but yes, we definitely want to work with your community and make it work in a way that benefits all of us.
Yes.
And on our end, and as I mentioned to my own community, to me, it's not just about having somebody from our community elected, because that's less important to me than having somebody who will work with us.
Yes.
That's more important than having the color of the skin on the city council being our color. We want somebody that will be open to us and listen to us. That's more important.
Right.
So anyways, thank you for having me today.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Okay.
No, thank you very, very much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to our next speaker is Christina Laughter. And she has another amazing presentation that she wanted to bring to our attention. If you could all stay with us, we usually end at 2. We're going to end sooner than 2 o'clock because we want to get out in that streets and have some fun, right? So if you could remain with us, and then on our live stream, YouTube, if you could remain with us. I think this is great information from our own Christina Lasser, who does a lot with students in education. She's a strong advocate for improving the academic achievement of kids of color, particularly. And we want her to have time to share this incredible presentation initiative that she also wants us to be aware of. Christina?
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, introduce yourself and tell us a little about you, and then you have the floor.
Hi, everybody. One thing I do want to acknowledge is that I'm honored to be here while other people are taking flights and shopping. We are pursuing justice and battling our justice swords. And so I just wanted to acknowledge everyone for that, because I know that people could be doing 10 other things, and it is a holiday season. So thank you. Second, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Christina Laster. I serve in the K-12 education space with regards to policy and legislation, in particular, civil rights. And so there's a lot of, just really nerdy stuff that I'll leave for another day. If you want to ask me, I can tell you on a day that we're not going to leave early. But what I would like to do is introduce something to you, and I'm going to start my presentation through a PowerPoint. All right, so can you guys see that?
It's there it is. Yes, perfect.
Okay, so as a California resident and a mom of 4 and a grandmother of 3, I have been in a generational battle regarding the academic outcomes and progress of my children. And so really looking at just being in the education space all that time, fighting the battle and seeing that it was not progressing in the way that it should be, really started to look at how to make a change that operates in perpetuity. What I mean by into perpetuity is how do we look at changes that take place on the government level, on the legal level, that have more permanency to them. I don't want my children and my grandchildren to inherit a yawning and lethargic academic achievement gap. Right. And we've seen that. So I know that a lot of parents realized how exasperated the achievement and outcomes were across the state of California during the pandemic. But a lot of us already knew that before and had been really fighting a battle and not really gaining a lot of ground on it. So looking at this from a legal perspective and a governmental obligation perspective, started looking at a constitutional right to a high quality education that puts students first. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about. Create how we how me and other parent organization leaders, legal experts, Cal Chamber representatives worked for over a year on a constitutional amendment in the state of California that puts students first. Okay. So as you can see, there's the points of discussion. I am going to briefly go into a website which is called Black in School, which the California Democratic Party Black Caucus built the data. So I didn't have to go and make that data on my own. I'm not a statistician, but I definitely appreciate being able to review data. So I'm going to stop sharing here and go to that page. Oops, did it stop sharing?
Yes, it stopped sharing.
Okay. All right, and I'll put this link in the chat. You guys can see the work that they've done around this, but definitely, it's the most up-to-date data that we have with regards to where we're at with this achievement gap. Okay. So if we were to look at the state of California, and it shows you, of course, the category that are colored. Is that too big, or can you see the whole thing? I can reduce it a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we see in Black students across all subject matter, English language arts, math, science, and college and career readiness are still at the bottom, okay? And this is according to the CASP data from the California Department of Education, okay? Graduation and A to G completion, you see that? I don't really have to break that down. It's going to go further into doing that. And the achievement gap persists over time, right? So here's 2014, 15, 2018, 19. It's probably more of a regression since 20 and 21. As students were really locked out of their education because of the digital divide or not having adequate resources or whatever that may have been, lacking the quality of instructional minutes that they needed, not being able to access their educations through the pandemic time that we've been over the past year and a half. I'm sure that the data has not progressed. So here is more information on what is the status of the achievement gap. Low-income white students outperform non-low-income Black students in math and science. And I wanted to just go to the color so you can see what that means, right? That means that across the state of California, 67% of Black kids in California don't read or write at grade level. Okay, that's a large percent. It's a large number. I mean, 50 is egregious. We have 67%. And so this is through K to 12. All of the grades that tested, this is the data that came back, okay? And there is no way to say the deficit is in our children. And we need to reject narratives that try to purport that the deficit is in our children, right? There is an obligation and a duty to meet them with expectations to learn and be able to provide an education, but we see that that has not taken place and we haven't gotten very far. 79% of Black kids in California are not at grade level in math. This is why the California Chambers is concerned as well, right? How can children that are illiterate and can't numerate, can't calculate, move on to having a fulfilling life? What does their livelihood look like? I typically say that our students will graduate from the achievement gap into the racial wealth gap if this is not aggressively pursued in a way that will create meaningful change and rightful outcomes. 86% of Black kids in California aren't at grade level in science in an ever rapidly growing STEM world, okay? Science, technology, engineering, math, you know, need to be able to perform to be globally competitive and even statewide competitive. So where are children graduating to? 69% of Black kids don't graduate with A to G completion. So that means that they are automatically disqualified from those universities like UC's, Cal States that require that you have that A to G completion. That's a large number. And 76% don't graduate college or career ready. Okay, leaving a heavy lift and obligation back onto the community. I will put this link in the chat. You can go look at the excessive discipline data. Let me go ahead and let me put that in the chat, and then I'm going to bring up the other. All right. So, sorry, I'm not that technologically savvy. My kids help me and they're not with me right now. So I appreciate your patience. Let me see. This is the thing right here. Okay. Did that come through in the chat? Yes? Okay. Thank you. All right. So really looking at, you know, that and then the creation story behind it. When you're just tired of hearing the same old excuses, we try to figure out a way, right? I know my grandma and them used to say, we gonna make $1 out of 50 cents, but there were real concerned Black parents, grandparents, civil rights activists, organizations across the state that are equally concerned about our students' progress and about our outcomes that came to the table and said, how can we do something that is going to have lasting impact? And we looked at, you know, various ways to maybe bills, maybe whatever it may be. And you know, we really began to talk about a constitutional amendment and looking at the way that the California Constitution reads currently. Currently, the California Constitution says that they guarantee free public education with no mention of quality at all, with no mention of any kind of minimum bar set to what that free public education is going to look like. And we know historically where that has left us, right? There needs to be a change to that amendment, to the Constitution. And so we're talking about an amendment that all of us that came to the table, like I said, parents, concerned grandparents, civil rights leaders, constitutional experts really looked at ways to do that in putting an initiative on the ballot to amend the Constitution was the route that we have taken. And so I'm going to go into that. Okay, let me just talk really quick about amending the Constitution. Sorry, let me make this a little bit bigger. So for anyone that doesn't understand the process, I want to be able to explain the process. The California Constitution can be amended in these ways. Through the process of a legislatively referred constitutional amendment, this procedure is defined in Section 1 of Article of the California Constitution according to that section. Or 2/3 of the membership of each chamber of the California legislature must propose an amendment, which then goes on a statewide ballot to be ratified or rejected by the state's voters. The state legislature is allowed to propose revisions, not just amendments to the Constitution. If measures conflict and they both get more than 50% of the vote, the one with the highest number of vote prevails. Ratified amendments take effect the day after the election. Through the process of an initiated constitutional amendment, according to Section 3 Article and Section 8 of Article, practitioners can collect signatures equaling 8% of the most recent total number of votes cast for the office of governor to qualify a proposed amendment for the ballot. And there's some more information that you can look up on Ballotpedia, right? I don't want anyone to not be informed. I feel like if we're going to make decisions, we need to make well-informed decisions, and that requires some research and inquiry on our behalf. And so I always want to be transparent on where to find more information so that you can definitely not just take my word, go search it out yourself. So really sitting at that co-creation table and thinking about how to make this a reality for the people, by the people, we decided to go for an initiative to amend the California Constitution to specifically call out putting students first and having a high quality public education. So let me stop sharing here and then I'm going to bring up another screen. So we filed this with the AG and we received it, the title and summary. And so I just wanted to let you guys look at it. Like I said, full transparency, here is the language, right? The constitutional right to a high quality public education act. This measure shall be known and may be cited as the constitutional right to a high quality public education act, right? Here are some findings and declarations, basically with regards to NAEP data. Unfortunately, according to Nate, like I said, we have information from prior to the pandemic, but right now we don't have updated information. However, when that information does become available, I am pretty sure that it has not progressed, right? In fact, when you hear people talk about rates of regression, that's more accurate with regards to what's being seen and what's being felt and what's being talked about amongst parents and parent groups all across the state, okay? I wanna go down to section 3. Oh, I don't know what happened. Sorry, let me go back. Do you guys still see it or no? Yeah, it disappeared on my screen. I apologize for that. And then, all right. Okay. This is the PowerPoint. I don't know why the PowerPoint is coming up and not the actual thing that I'm trying to share, which is right here. Okay, can you see the amendment?
There's section 3. We can see section 3, or at least section 3 down to letter D.
All right, got it. So here's the way that it reads. All public school students shall have the right to a high quality public education that provides them with the skills necessary to fully participate in the economy, our democracy, and our society. The right to a high quality public education shall not be denied or infringed by any state or local law, regulation, or policy, or by any official action that affects students generally. Any law, regulation, or policy, or any official action affecting students generally, which does not put the interests of students first, shall be deemed to deny this right. The remedies to enforce this right to a high quality public education shall be limited to invalidating or otherwise enjoining the offending law, regulation, policy, or official action. The remedies for this right shall not include new mandates for taxes or spending. So this was evaluated to see if it had a fiscal note or fiscal impact, and there is none, okay, to amending the Constitution. The right to a high quality public education belongs to all public school students attending public preschool, kindergarten, elementary, or secondary school. And an action to enforce the right to a high quality public education may only be brought by a parent or guardian of a public school student or a nonprofit organization representing public school students. And so I really wanted to, talk about the fact that this is a solid mechanism to offer back to the people to say, we're tired of the disparity in the outcomes. We're tired of hearing excuses about why the achievement gap persists. It is the obligation of the state to provide, if they provide the free education, to provide a standard of the way that that's going to look, and putting students in the middle of that, at the center of that, is really what this right seeks to do with amending the Constitution to specify the type of education that our children are to receive. And so I'm going to stop screen sharing for that one. And I wanted to this PowerPoint keeps me on track. So next steps, everybody's like, well, what do we do? So we're hoping that, it's on the 2022 ballot. If not, definitely seeking it for it to be solidly placed on the 2024. And so community education, right? Like, I don't know how many people that are watching this knew that the data was as bad as it was until I presented it, right? I don't know how many people prior to being told that the Constitution doesn't guarantee a standard of education, it only guarantees a free education, knew that, right? And so this is why community education and allowing people to see the data and to do their research, whatever they want to do, to find out what is really happening, so that the narratives don't continue to permeate throughout our communities, saying that the deficit is in us and our children, right? I am constantly on phone meetings and in-person meetings with parents who have tried to do everything that they possibly can to secure a quality education for their children, and are constantly met with opposition. And so it really makes me beg the question, are we putting students first in education? And that's what K-12 education should be about, pursuing those high quality outcomes that will help them in their lifelong mobility, upward mobility, and not being stuck in failing schools where there's no out. So really looking at the community education. If we go for 2022, definitely we'll be asking for help with signature gathering and of course voting, right? For the people, by the people, so the people have to be there to choose whether or not this is something that they want. And so I want to leave with the quote before I break for questions. Mary M. Bethune said, "We are on our way, but these are frontiers which we must conquer. We must gain full equality in education, in the franchise and economic opportunity, and full equality in the abundance of life." And so I really see all of the things that she did to create a legacy of just having a quality education for us and our children. And I plan to continue to pursue in that path. I'm not going to relent. And so I thank you for the opportunity to share this information with you. And I will pause for questions.
Any questions? This is a great presentation. I do want you to know that Christina is a former resident of San Diego. I believe you were born and raised in San Diego?
I was born and raised in San Diego. I went to Kennedy Child Development Center when I was a little girl over there off of T Street. And then I got bussed out to La Jolla for elementary and Point Loma, and came back in high school, which was the old Gompers. And I went half day to Lincoln. And then I went to University of San Diego for my higher education. And so I am deeply invested in the San Diego community. And I'm glad to see all the wonderful people here fighting the good fight.
Thank you. Any questions from folks?
Ellen, I have a question. Christina, thank you for doing such a great job at presenting like the situation. And yeah, I agree with whomever put in there that those numbers are just horrible. Doesn't even describe it. It's I don't have a word for it. So, but my question is then like, what are the next steps? I know you said, you needed people to be, when the time comes to, be fighting for this or voting for it. What specifically are your next steps and timeline towards working on this? And what is it we can do or be involved in to be actively helping with that?
So as it is, typically what we find in our communities is that when we fight for something, sometimes we don't have the resources, right? So it's very expensive to put an initiative on the ballot. And that is what parent organizations and groups are right now fervently and aggressively pursuing the amount that is necessary to secure what we need. That's going to be the difference of if it's going to be on the 2022 or the 2024. So we are going to pursue this no matter what, but there is going to be a difference in the time based on if we're able to secure the amount of funding that we need to make sure that it happens. Ballot initiatives are not cheap, especially in California. So,
how much do you need to raise?
I don't do the fundraising, y'all. So I get to talk about all the political and legal stuff.
We just want to know the money. Do you know how much money it takes? The money part? How much?
Billions. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not. Yeah.
All right. Share?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the hand to ask for permission to speak. To Christina Laster, thank you. I was familiar with the information that you presented because I am an advocate for students as well. I wanted to ask you, what will be that the difference between what you are presenting, the amendment, and the Every Student Succeeds Act.
The Every Student Succeeds Act is more like a federal policy, right? And so there is no constitutional guarantee in the US Constitution that specifically says all children are guaranteed a right to this type of education. So what we have is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, which was basically what I call the K-12 education constitution or law of the land, right? Which is hasn't even been fully realized, right? And when we look at really the way that federal policy takes place regarding K-12 education, states have more local control. And so they can take it as advice, kind of like those Dear Colleague letters, oh, this is advice. And if they don't feel a real credible threat that there's going to be some kind of funding taken away or from the federal government, then they're going to continue to like take their time. It's almost like when we had Brown versus Board of Education, there's not just Brown versus Board of Education 1, there's 2 and there's 3, right? And so we see how like there has to be a pursuit in another arena. And so I believe that what this particularly does is give parents an organization, a mechanism to hold accountability if there is no quality or standard of quality met with regards to education, and we can pursue it in the courts. And we know with regards to the civil rights battle, we've had to pursue in the streets, in the courts, in the churches, in the schools, in every single arena possible. And so that would be the major difference. One is a constitutional amendment that adds this to the Constitution, kind of like we have First Amendment, right? And then one is a policy more so. The Every Student Succeeds Act is a policy.
Could you please email me that information? Actually, I am already checking what you're talking about, also Googling. But if you send that information, because I like to make a comparison on the language and see that really will work in favor of the students. There are many people advocating and saying students first, and the students are the first that get damaged. So I know that you are trying your best, and we all are. So I will appreciate you send me that information, and we can all read and get better educated about this information that you are.
Ellen has a copy of the initiative, and she can definitely share it with you all.
Thank you so much for working toward the children. Thank you.
Great. Miriam, certainly I will share it with everyone. We'll put it out in our newsletter, actually. But Christina, to Miriam's point, is there a fact sheet that shows what the differences are?
I can create one. And so, like,
okay, in plain English. Parent English or whatever.
Yes, and you know what I do on the on my page, which I'll also share with you, Ellen, I have a Know Your Rights show that I've done to cover these types of topics, right? Like, what is the Elementary and Secondary Education Act that's reauthorized now as ESSA, right? What does that mean? And so I think like that's a part of the overall community education that needs to take place. And I do want to speak specifically to Miriam, like I do hear you on people saying like they're going to put children first, and it hasn't happened, right? And I personally, as one of the co-founders and co-creators of this language, we vetted this for over a year and some months to make sure.
Yeah, I have heard you speaking in other meetings. And I know that you are working and trying to do your best. So at the same time, I would like to read it.
Yes.
And evaluate it myself to see what we can do together.
Yes. Okay. So you'll share that with everyone, Helen?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Great job, Christina. And this is just a dry run, very introduction. We definitely want to bring you back in order to break it down a little much more. And hopefully we can raise the money to get it on the 22 ballot. If not, we'll keep raising money and educating and getting it on the 24 ballot. Or maybe we just won't need it at all, and people just will see the light and everything will be great, right? I'm still hopeful. We have Regina Evans that just joined us. Regina, Can you just have words? We great. Thank you for being here, and we're wrapping up early today, and just wanted to give you a few minutes to share with us. Regina has been a great supporter of BAPAC during COVID. Regina stepped up and really helped us actually create that collaboration and partnership I talked about with other different nonprofit organizations here in San Diego. And in fact, we call ourselves the Black Leaders Connect, with probably the highest ranking African Americans that are here in San Diego. We created a mayor's 100-day plan that we're very proud of. We took that on the road to the Mayor Todd Gloria's office, then to the city council members, then to the county board of supervisors, and really got some things done based on Regina's leadership in putting together that mayor's 100-day plan that included accountability and outcomes. And Regina, if you wanted to share a little bit about that work, and also talk to us a little bit about Malia Cohen.
Thank you, Ellen. As always, thank you for your leadership. I know Ellen is always elevating all the rest of us, but Ellen, we're able to do what we do because of what you do. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Christina, I want to thank you for your presentation as well. And let's be mindful that it will take millions of dollars to move that initiative forward, but we could approach members of the legislature to just move this through the legislative process versus having to actually collect signatures. And that is a way to get it done. That is also a way to get support in the building and ultimately attempt to make the message clear that the current state of affairs are unacceptable. And so, Christina, thank you for our work. We all know that education has been our pathway out of circumstances, and we want our children to have the same opportunities. So thank you, thank you, thank you. As Ellen stated, we certainly have convened. We continue to convene. We created the 100-day plan, but we're also in the process of completing a more comprehensive plan, which Bishop Terrell Fletcher, that leads us, calls the Black Agenda. And that is a county-wide effort, right? To just roll up our sleeves and own our own success. Christina, we have presented to everyone that the data clearly states we're at the bottom of everything. The disinvestment, the blatant racism, discrimination, the list goes on and on. It is manifesting itself in the numbers. But what we said is we are committed to finding these solutions. We are not waiting on Mayor Gloria. We're not waiting on the Board of Supervisors or the City Council. We have decided that many of us sit where we sit because somewhere when we were young folks, some Black folks decided things were going to be different. And we have reaped the benefits of their work, and it's time to leverage the moment. And so that's the work we're doing. Anyone that's interested in getting involved in our work, please reach out to Ellen. It's going to take each and every one of us at the table, and we are unapologetic about the current state of affairs are unacceptable. And we welcome everyone to do this work with us. I will take a minute, as Ellen has offered, to talk about my boss. I serve as chief of staff for one of our constitutional officers, and some of you on this call know exactly who she is, the Honorable Malia M. Cohen out of San Francisco. I call Malia our promise. I believe that we will see Malia in places we never thought we could see Black folks. She is currently running for controller for the state of California. Ellen has endorsed her as an individual. We will make sure she gets on a BAPAC call. I think she's been on one before, but she will be on one again just so you can meet her. She is the epitome of our ancestors' dreams. And I just believe that when you get an opportunity to meet this young woman who is committed, who is determined, and who is also unapologetic about advancing the agenda for Black folks in California. And Ellen, thank you for your time. And as Christina stated, this is the Saturday before Christmas. The fact that we're on this call is a clear indication that we are truly soldiers in the battle for true equity for Black folks, not only in California, but across this country. Thank you, everyone, for all that you do. Just very, very grateful for the opportunity to say a few words. But I cannot end without saying that we are all where we are because we had praying grandparents. We had praying great-grandparents. We had praying civil rights leaders, and we must not lose sight of what this season is really about. And I encourage all of you to reflect and decide what will be your role in 2022 to advance the cause of Black folks in San Diego, in California, and across the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Regina, Attorney Regina V. Evans Garrett, for being here today. I want to end with Ken having some last words. I'm done. Ken M. Shamaji, we're in the presence of greatness. He doesn't like for me to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. And he's one of the founders of BAPAC. I'm sure Regina remembers the story. Regina is a product of the original BAPAC from the Willie Brown connection. But we can take us out just with a few words. And I just want to say, everyone have a happy holiday. Ken?
BAPAC was founded in 1980. Willie Brown was the main leader of it, instigator of it. And one of the things that I noticed right away, we're human beings. And so just because we're Black, it don't mean we agree with each other lockstep on everything. He brought together Black elected officials who didn't like each other, but made them support BAPAC because politics is about power, gaining and maintaining and using power. It isn't about good and evil. It isn't about right and wrong. It's about being able to impose our will of what we think is right. And that takes power, pure and simple. So he thought there should be an organization statewide that represented an opportunity for Black people to build that power across the state. It went on for several years and it kind of calmed down for a while. Then Willie Blair and Ellen brought it back. But that's what it's about. We have to learn that nobody's going to give us anything, and we need to stop talking about what's fair and unfair. We know what's fair and unfair. Let's talk about how to make it fair, and that takes power.
On that note, meeting adjourned. Have a happy, wonderful holiday.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
Be
holidays.
safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Be safe.
Happy holidays to you.
Thank you.